Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I think we can open the afternoon section now. So welcome all the audience from Sophia University. And, open the afternoon section now. So welcome all the audience from Sophia University. And, open the afternoon section now. เสียงมันเอ็กโคมากเลยค่ะ So welcome all the audience from Sophia University. And, open the afternoon section now. เสียงมันเอ็กโคมากเลยค่ะ So welcome all the audience from Sophia University. And, open the afternoon section now.
อาจารย์นรตีปิดลำโพงตัวเองหรือยังคะ
มากเลยค่ะ So
ใช่
welcome
มัน
all the audience from
ทางนี้ไม่เอ็กโคนะคะ
open the afternoon section now.
อาจารย์นรตีปิดลำโพงตัวเองหรือยังคะ
So
ใช่
welcome
มัน
all the audience from สวัสดีค่ะได้ยินไหมคะขอเทสก่อน
ได้ยินค่ะ
Hello everybody hears our voice okay please raise your hand if you can hear us okay I think everything is fine อาจารย์นรตี is like do you still have the technical problems
we have talked before but no problem
okay yes right okay
now it's okay I think
yes right okay we can start now
okay then good afternoon everyone welcome to our session we have the audience from Sophia University and Chiang Mai University here and today we have special guest คุณเรืองระวีพิชัยกุล Director of Gender and Development Research Institutes or you can call GDRI. She has been working on issue of the migration gender issue for long period of time. And before I interview Kun Leung Lavi that she also engaged in the board of the governor for Thai PBS. And I think Kun Leung Lavi received award for creative media for human rights issue, right? And also she worked with the UN organization relating with the human rights for the migrants. And now she also engaged with the UN researcher in the issue of social protection diagnostic review. This issue I try to work with the social welfare of the migrant worker. And for today, she will give a lecture on the topic of COVID-19 pandemics and social economic impact on women in Thailand. Kun Leung Lavi, you want to talk a little bit before show the record? Please unmute your microphone ค่ะ
Okay สวัสดีค่ะ Good afternoon everyone it's my pleasure to meet all of you. This is kind of a very rare opportunity for me to talk to students. Actually I talk to a very senior people like a politician, something like that. So okay, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, because English is not my native, so please give me a chance to explain to you, or you can raise hand if you don't understand what I'm talking about. So I'm excited to talk to you and share some of the information experience with you relating especially on COVID and women. Okay, that's.
Thank you ค่ะ So we're gonna take few minutes.
Sawadika. Hello, everyone. My name is Rương Ravi Pichaikun, or my nickname is Jeff. I'm a director of Gender and Development Research Institute, or GDRI. GDRI is a think tank unit or advocacy unit of the APSW, Association for the Promotion of the Status of Women, which run shelter for victims of gender-based violence, provide some of the legal and economic assistance to the victims of gender-based violence. So the two organizations actually is one organization, but GDI is kind of a unit under the APSW. So today I'm pleased to present to you the study that GDI has conducted toward the end of 2020 and supported by the Asia Foundation. The study focusing on the gender responsive to the COVID-19 government's remedial assistance and some of the projects that the government designed, implemented to respond to the impact, the social impact and economic impact of the COVID breakout, the first wave of the COVID-19 breakout. So I would like to walk you through some of the information which I will share you the screen here, and we'll try to spend a very short period of time because my Zoom is not paid, so it's gonna be gone very quickly. So I'm gonna try to finish everything by 20 minutes. See what so I will share you the presentation here. Okay. Okay. The topic that I was given assigned by the RCSD is the COVID-19 pandemic and social and economic impacts on women in Thailand. So this is a very match to my organization's mission, which we are promoting gender equality and try to mainstream gender equality and equity into policies and all the government's projects. So I would like to share with you a little bit of after the outbreak, what the government has done. The government has provided very immediate remedies to target groups, including the informal sector workers, farmer, fisher, herder, elderly, people with disability, children in poor family, poor vulnerables, and also general informal sector, which include actually almost everyone that doesn't have the regular salary. So altogether, the government claimed that they can cover more than 30 million people out of the 65 million people of Thai citizens. The basic understanding why we use gender responsive policies and gender responsive recommendations on this one. We have to understand the basic understanding of equality and equity. It's almost the same, but it's not the same. So when we call equality, mean everyone has the right to access, to be entitled for on the right given and protected by the Constitution, by the government, by our international law. But many people cannot access. For example, the disabled people or children. So we look at the other picture here. It means equity. It means that even though you don't have the capacity to access, but you are provided with the affirmative action or special measure, so you can access to the same or equal rights. So this is the gender equity and gender equality that we use all the time. So the study, actually the study that GDI conducted during September to December 2020 focused on 4 female vulnerable groups consisting of formal, non-formal workers, female elderly, disabled women, and victims of gender-based violence. So these people are mainly the client of our shelters. And we would like to study more about the government COVID pandemics, the remedial measures and AIDS intervention program, whether the design and implementation are responsive and accessible by female vulnerable groups. Here, we don't talk about the general women, but it's just very particular on female vulnerable group, which we found that the 4 groups that I mentioned are vulnerable. So I would like to share with you some methodologies and gender analysis framework that we use in the study and some key results and recommendations of the study. So within this time frame, I think the 4 topics can be fit into about 20 minutes. Okay, this is some of the informations that we have received when we start the project, but we would like to validate it and get more information of the impact on vulnerable women. So this is the first group, female formal and non-formal workers. We have informants from the Thai Labor Solidarities and some of our women network like HomeNet who are helping non-formal workers and some of other partners as well. At the beginning, we have learned the impacts that most of the workers are impacted by the lockdown and the shutdowns of business, reduced orders, some kind of, like business will impact a lot. So the problem occur to formal workers a lot because they were laid off, they were job suspended or reduced salaries, or some of them mistreated by the employers. For example, they don't pay the laid off money, or there are gender discriminations because they laid off female more than male, especially pregnant women were laid off and faced with very difficult conditions because they cannot return to their employment anymore right now. The job list of non-formal workers, which includes street vendors, domestic workers, daily hire, particularly in tourism and services industry, such as restaurant, beauty salon, massage, retail sales. All of these activities are closed because of the government's orders. Closure of child care center and schools create a lot of burdens, to women and their family. So if they have to take care of the children, they cannot go to work. So their income is less and reduced. The non-formal work was not protected by labor law or social security scheme. As you may know that we have Article 33, which provide for social security for the formal worker, and Article 39 for workers who have no employers, like myself. After I retired, I joined to be the insured person of the Article 39. So we will share with you more information about this. The second group is women with disability. I don't have to say much, how much they will be affected by all the lockdown, on the tourism business shut down, and there was no more tourists coming to Thailand anymore because most of the disabled people, including women, working in the tourism activities, such as in the massage, the fortune teller, lottery sellers, the caregivings, working in the restaurant, all kinds of services. Most of them are working as non-formal workers, so they're not protected fully by the labor law or social security scheme. Unable to access to online application, especially, like when they have the 5,000 baht per month to be given to affected people. So because of the kind of particular the blind, people cannot apply the online. They are not digital illiteracy, but because of the online is competitive, like people who can access first can have the chance to get support by the government first. So one of the things that we have learned from the beginning that there are no specific channel to access medical or quarantine, especially patients who need regular medical care or treatment. So because of all the shutdown and the hospital have been busy with others, like tasks, especially taking care of the COVID patient. The women elders, we found that not many people pay attention on them and think that they are quite, like easygoing and are not affected much. But after we have a group discussion with them, we found that they bear most of the burdens because when all the jobless children, grandchildren return home, so they all are in the care of the mothers, older mothers. That like all the savings on the pension they have to now use to take care of their children's returning home. They're quite digital illiteracy and they cannot compete in the online application to get the project, the remedials project, fundings, financials supporting by the government. And the same problem with the disability because they cannot access to medical care. Many of them need to do the kidney and take medicine, diabetes or something like that, or blood pressure. So they kind of take risks staying home and are not provided with special care for them. So the last group is women victims of gender-based violence. This is include sexual violence, unintended pregnancy, domestic violence. Because our shelter at the Association for the Promotion of the Status of Women has a shelter. Actually, we run 24 hours. But after the COVID-19 attacked Thailand, we have to close the service. So we found later after we reopened and found that so many women are waiting to seek assistance from shelter because they would like to access to shelter, safe home, because they have conflict with their intimate partners. They're pregnant and cannot access or access to safe abortions or any kinds of services that can help them. We have increased number of domestic violence, that seek assistance from our shelter. So the study was have 3 tiers. The first methodology that we use is the focus group discussion. We have totally 37 participants, and we also have in-depth interview afterwards. And we also have the web-based online survey of 500 respondents from all 4 groups. Okay, this is the number that I show. You have my presentation advance of the time, so I think you can follow me on that. The study here adopt the gender analysis framework as we gender institutions. So we have used the very basic one, with the gender analysis framework, including 3 main topics that we have to study all together and try to see the link. Sometimes they have a reinforcement each other. First thing, we have to look at the gender roles and responsibility. Second, we look at access to resources and income, information, knowledge, and skills. The third one is the participation in decision-making, policy design, and implementation. So I have the kind of a brief explanation of the gender analysis framework here, so you can read it afterward. And also some gender terminologies used in the study, such as gender roles, which is a learned behaviors, which is different from sex, which is we have female and male, and now we have gender identities, various gender identities. So we have to pay attention to gender equality, equity, aware, sensitive. On these terms, you can see it throughout the study. Even though the study has not finished completely, we are working to edit some of the sessions. So anyway, it's almost done. It's 90% complete. So this is the result of our focus group discussions. We found that the COVID-19 and control measures, impact on women's livelihood harder than men. So for example, the closure of the child care center, the increase of stress and financial burdens, the layoff of workers, sometimes husband lost job, business fail, bankrupt, that afflict a lot of wives and pregnant women, because many of them sometimes they plan to have the baby, but after the conflict make them fail, business fail, so they would like to do a safe abortion, but they cannot access. So now many of the unintended pregnant women seek assistance from our shelter. The second second thing that we found, that economic vulnerability, the digital illiteracy, and gender discrimination elevate stress and domestic violence. This is very, very simple, because of the jobless and they are laid off unfairly. Sometimes they don't receive the full compensations, or for example, like sometimes the employers ignore to put their contributions, the finance contribution, in the Social Security fund. So after they've been laid off, they didn't get the compensation as it's supposed to be according to the labor law. So we found the intersectionals of vulnerable ground that amplifies the vulnerabilities. For example, if they are women and they are disabled, another ground if they are aging, these kind of intersections of the vulnerable ground have spelled out, and clearly that these people are harder hit by the COVID than general people, especially the people who I found. It's very sad to hear that this lady is undocumented, and she faced with the gender-based violence. She was tortured by her husband and abandoned later, and she have 3 kids. And after she ran away and seek shelter, now she tried to get some job, but it's not easy because she doesn't have document. This is kind of intersectionals of vulnerable ground together. So this is the most vulnerable of women. Okay, the latest one that we found, that less voices lead to high risk and losing entitled benefit. But loud voice and solidarity ensure equal rights. Especially the health risk exposure, you know, the majorities of community health volunteers, the first year of the breakout, you know that the people who have made hard work, who have, you know, contribute hard work to the control of the pandemic is the community health volunteers. They've been recognized worldwide about that, their hard work. But what about their protection? What about the services? What about the compensation they receive? Or how they protect and prevent their risk? Because they are the first one who face with all the detected COVID-19, for example. So sometimes because of the language barriers, the blind, the loss of hearings, the people with local linguistics, local dialects, people cannot understand, you know, like all the, for example, the Malay Muslim in the south of Thailand, they, many of them cannot understand Thai language. So this is something that we have to be aware of. But it was something that's been missing from the planning and design of the government. So they kind of, you know, give the same shoes, the same size of the shoes to everyone, and think and see everyone look the same. This is one of the problems that we found. So some key findings. Okay, this is some examples of the key finding. We found that economic vulnerability, economic hardships persist across the life course of women and intensify when they turn into the middle age, facing intersections of multiple grounds of gender-based violence or discrimination in times of crisis in particular. So if you look at the scales I provided here, you can see that the blue one here is male, who are the member of the social welfare card or so-called poverty card, บัตรคนจน. You know, we found that the women register and receive the poverty card more than men in all range of the age. See, so it means that, you know, and it's confirmed by the 500 survey respondents that the impact of COVID outbreak makes the poorer women became the poorest. The family income pre and post, you know, like COVID, it's one of the indicators that we have found. Second, the women are majority citizen in COVID-19, attacked or affected by the COVID-19, especially because their occupation in the industry that impact a lot. For example, tourism, services, domestic helpings, and all non-formal business are mainly run by women. So the informal workers are the most, you know, affected. I found a very interesting number here. If you look at the Social Security funds, article section 33 and 39, you can see the difference. You know why the number of male and female in article 33 is quite the same number, but look at the 39, why female is much higher than male. You know, we found that because after the last job, they cannot return or be re-employed again because of the gender discrimination against their being females, you know, like age, being a motherhood, being replaced by the robots or artificial intelligence, and also their reproductive, you know, like activity that make them very difficult to return to their formal job. Sometimes the employers avoid to cover maternity-related expenditure, or because women traditional and mother roles responsibilities press them to care for the children, so it's very difficult for them to return. This is the finding that we have to look at many statistics, not just our focus group discussion and our survey. As the other thing that I would like to press is the gender traditional role of women. The metrics here show that the child support grant that support by the government, they support very specific targeted group of people who the family yearly income less than 100,000 baht. So we found that over 50% of the recipients are single moms and adolescent mothers who are eligible to register and receive. This means that, the targeted policies that have, the problem in registrations, we found that the exclusion order is even higher, like 30%. So it means there's so many children 0 to 6 years old are missing from this kind of support program by the government. So the recommendation from many groups, organizations working with children propose that there should be a shifting from targeted poor family to universal child support grant, and the amount is maybe start from 600 baht per month, something like that. Some key finding, this is very interesting. This is about the disabled people. If we count the total numbers of the disabled people who register with the Ministry of Social Security and Social Development and Human Security, we found that there are so many of them. See, in the total is about 2 million males outnumber females. And very interesting that the number contrast or not compatible with the National Statistic Office, while they found that women with disability constitute higher percent than the male counterparts. So they are 5.7% of women and 5.2% of men. Look at the number here. People who are difficult to apply to compete in the online application to access government remedies. The people who lost sight, mental behaviors, intellectuals, all of this, I think it's more than 500,000 people. If you look at the purple color I highlight here, this is one of the problems. When you are talking about the cut across, or you see the sameness of the people only, you don't see the difference characteristic or the difference of individuals or individual groups, you may fail to cover and make these people access to your assistant. This is one of the problems, not equitable. So I just want to add a little bit about the community health volunteer, which is mainly women. 79 or 80% of the community volunteers are women. So these are the front lines, volunteer taking the highest risk ever, especially this third round of the COVID pandemics, the breakout. So this is some of the examples that we found from the study. We have to review the labor policies and law, and to look at whether the non-formal worker can receive the same levels of the social protections or social securities, including the compensation and all kind of the services. And we have to look at women at the middle when they enter, the middle age. 40 years up, because we found that they are the most vulnerable groups here and facing so multiple grounds of gender discrimination. So I think very basic, like we have to include the women's rights organization and gender expert in the design, and provide consultants to the COVID Administration Center, to look at the overall pictures, not only the generals, like pictures of the problems. So these are some of the. I don't want to share with you a lot of this because it's your assignment, future assignment, right? To do this kind of the study. So I just share only two. Actually, I have about 9 to 10 recommendations. So this is, I would like to end my presentation here because I cannot record longer than this. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to end my presentation, the record here, and would like to share with you a Q&A and talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Khun Lunglovi, for very interesting presentation. We have learned a lot about the research on the impact of the COVID-19 that related with the women. Especially we learn a lot about methodology and the way that you analyze the data. That I also learned that, okay, even they are vulnerable, but they have different degree of that because of the intersectionality of their age and the condition that is different. So then now I would ask students to ask the question. It's your chance to formulate the question here. Okay, if not, in the meantime, I would ask Khun Leung a bit about the methodology. It's very interesting to know how would you interview the focus group in the topic of the COVID-19, which is sensitive. So is there any precaution for the interviewing in the group?
Okay, thank you, Ajahn Arati. Actually, it's not easy at all, But because these women, these informants are working under our partners, which we work together for quite a long time. So we are not strangers to each other. That's why we can get information. Before we start, we have the guideline questions, right? The guide question of that. And when we do the interview, in a group interview, many of them might shy and don't want to disclose their story. So we have to be, have a very, what do you call that? A kind of ethic, right? The ethical code of conduct, something in the interview. And someone talk a lot and really willing to open, it's fine. And if we would like to do another in-depth interview, we have to do it separate. So it means that in the big group, and also, try to snowball a little bit to someone who would like to say, but don't want to say in the group, something like that. That's why we have an in-depth interview later on as well. Like I said, the guide question is very important too. And also skillful skillful interviewer and someone who can make them feel comfortable enough to share the information. I'm not successful, in all of the group because with the gender-based violence group, about half of them don't want to say anything. Like someone who was tortured by her husband, or husband has done something bad to her. She doesn't want to reveal what's going on. So we have to respect to them, you know, like we get whatever information we have. But because we have a shelter, so actually we kind of understand the basic the background of these people already. If I want to get, you know, very specific information, I can go to the shelter and ask the manager to provide me. So this is kind of you know, the situation that really allowable for GDI to conduct this kind of study.
Yeah, thank you. So the experiences of the interviewer is more important, right? And then we need to consider about the sequences of the collecting the data too, right? Okay, we should do focus group first and then recruit them into in-depth interview personally. Okay, then now maybe some students have some question.
I'm pleased to share with you more.
I'd like to hear from Sophie, student. You still have no question?
Mean that I speak so clear, huh? Actually, this is just a portion of the study. Even though this study is a moderate, a very small size study, you know, like I cannot say it's something general evidence based. This is very specific with a very target group, and it's homogeneous group. You know, like we focus on women only. Sometimes we cannot compare to another gender as well. We try to make more comparison with other groups, but later, you know, I was not included in this discussion now, especially of the LGBTI group. Or any Thai student would like to ask if they all can speak English, right? So whatever, yeah, I'm friendly on any language.
So and then okay, how could you recruit each group of the participants? I mean, yeah, interviewee. How would you recruit them?
Like I said before, you know, because we are partners working together already with these 4 groups. The easy one is the victims of gender violence group, which is a client of our shelters, right? Some of them are farmers, you know, like used to stay here and live. The second group is disabled, because we work together with the Disabled Women Network of Thailand. This is Kun Sawarak Thongkloi, who is now a representative at the UN Disabled panel. So many years, you know, like 3 to 4 years that we work together on another project to review the gender equality law, which is related to the review of the law, whether it's, you know, like effective enough, or we would like to revise that law. So, and for formal and non-formal, we used to work in the same project. So because we see the opportunity to work with this group, that's why we create the project. But if we are not in the position to contact anyone, I don't think I can create this project. So you see the chance opens, the group that work with us would like to participate and contribute into the project as well. That's why it's quite smooth in terms of recruiting the participants. The most difficult part is the survey, you know, because we use the online application survey. It doesn't mean that we send to anyone that people willing, you know, to fill the questionnaire and return to you. We have to get the organization who are really would like to work with us, and they manage to collect the questionnaire and receive back to us. So without, you know, their contribution, of our partners, I don't think this one can be finished. So one of the background of the study. Okay.
Yeah, what is the difficulty in this situation? Also, we could not make directly interview, and also we could not like do focus group. So then, is there any suggestion for us and for students? Is there any kind of the method that we could apply in this time?
I think it depends on your target group, right? I don't know what kind of groups there are you are interested in collecting data from.
Yeah. For example, my project focus on migrant worker. Yeah. So is there any kind of the, actually I know some organization who work with, but still is quite difficult. So as I know that you have experienced a lot with this group of persons, so maybe you have any good suggestion for us?
For migrant group, number one, I think we kind of have the review of the on the literatures, right? And some of the background of that group already. I think this is no question. Everyone has to do if you are a researcher. The legal framework, the implementation, some of the barriers, all kinds of things. And I think the bridging organization is very important. The organization that the migrant trust, right? Entrust by the migrant people. So that was, you have to approach them. And I know these organizations are so open and willing to join research team because they would like to see the recommendation, and that kind of recommendation can be passed into the policy making level, right? So the bridging organization is a key. So you have to make friends, and it's kind of a connection to some of the organization working with the migrant already. That is one. The other area that I don't know. This is my just my imagination, because when we work with a non-formal and migrant, we have to go and talk to the Ministry of Labor because they have the kind of tons of information about that, and they also have organization that they work with already. Some of them are what do you call the labor inspector. The labor inspectors, some of them work with formal workers and some of them working with the migrant. I think this is another channel that you can approach to. The other channels that is quite a little bit far from what you might thinking about is the politicians. I think in the standing committee on labors, they have quite a lot of experts working on the migrants because they are developing the migration policies, right? They have to be some keen people there. You can access them and ask their assistant to connect to the group, and that's all I can think about right now, because actually my organization doesn't work directly with the migrant, but we try to work indirectly from the non-formal into migrants. And it's they are all friendly to provide you with the information and assistance.
Thank you. So is there the question?
Can I ask a question?
Okay, you can ask.
So yeah, so what about the ethnic women? Like, under which category they fall under? They fall into. Like, did you categorize them as non-formal worker? Or yeah, and if we had to conduct interview with those ethnic groups, then how should we approach them in this pandemic?
Yeah. In our study, we have a few ethnic groups. Like I mentioned about the undocumented lady, and not only one lady, there are more. But because they are not quite, they are busy, and it's not easy to commute for the interview. So I think the online interview, if you go through all the bridging organization working on this issue and use online or any kind of technical assistance that can help not make them travel. That's one of the key issues. That will be easier. And we know that ethnic people, not only they cannot access to, because they are undocumented, some of them maybe have the 13 digits, right, the ID card, but they are not have the same level of social protection scheme like the Thai citizen. So this is one of the group that I pay attention a lot in my social protection study, because we found that not a small number of people like this. If you would like to look at this, you go to the Ministry of Mahathai, what is Interior, right, and see the statistic first, and you can see this is just I work actually via internet, try to find information via the internet. You see the provinces, right, that have the majorities of ethnicity and undocumented people. So that will be, I found that like adolescent pregnancy are high in undocumented. Why the general Thai has only like 1.5 birth rate, when the ethnicity has higher and the the quality of life is lower. So this kind of thing is can be another topic that we should study to see how ethnicity access or be covered by the social protection, or we have to create a special social protection for them, because they are human, they have the same human rights and dignity. So we have to be we have to respect their rights the same way as we respect the Thai people. Okay, I don't know whether I answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
More questions? No. Alisa, you want to? Oh, okay. Inai.
Yes, I would like to ask you about, is there any other problems that you face not included about the interviewees' uncomfortable feelings? Like, is there any other problems that you face and you consider it as an important issue, as a suggestion or an advice for us?
Okay. Actually, this is only part of my presentation. I make it very brief, right? In the full study, we have more information. I will be very happy to share after the paper finished. And we actually, thank you for this question. I've been thinking, a little bit further, what kind of study we should further, because now we are attacked by the third wave of the COVID-19 already. We found that there might be a specific area or elements that we should focus on. Right now is a cluster, right? The COVID now is kind of break out in a cluster. I haven't paid attention in terms of the cluster infection in cluster yet, like Klong Tơi, how much of the problems maybe is harder than the problem that I found in my study. So this is something, it's another step. I really want to go further to like we have to live with the COVID for many years, and we have to look furthermore, and what kind of industry, like intimate. Now we are working with Ajahn Paniti, on the intimate worker. It's been that the workers that really work and contact, for example, the massage, the masseuse, right? Or the beauty salon, all kinds of, the beauty, the tourism that work in contact with people. They affect a lot, like the massage business said, in the massage business, they have never have only even one record of the people who received their services and infected with the COVID-19. But why the government shut down all of this kind of business? So, it comes to the question whether you try to control the pandemic, and how about the loss in the business sections, the business section that people have to work hand to mouth, like the one who wash your hair in the beauty salon. They don't give you salary. They give only like the tips or the what do you call the overhead what do you call commission or something, like by head. Today you still have work. Tomorrow you have nothing at all. You don't have even food to eat because of the balance between like the disease control and the business maintenance. It's not quite okay. I think like I receive a lot of complaints by business because people. I think the government tend to look, like everyone like the ping pong head. They look the same. They don't see the differences and individual differences, particular group which affected by the COVID-19. So like very simple between. This is very gender related. After the pandemic, many people change job, right? They have a second job, right? Become a deliveries, writing a Grab or something like that on the gig economy. Do you think that women and men who can, like have this kind of job more than each other? Oh, this is something that, even though they lost job, the same number of them lost job, but the opportunity to get the new job is so different. So I don't know, because they don't have any gender people in their so-called, the central administration, and never talk about this. It gets better, but it doesn't mean that they cover every aspect of the gender issue in this. Okay, this is some example.
Thank you.
Any more question?
I have a question.
Okay, please.
I heard you speak about intersectional vulnerability, and I've heard about intersectional feminism. It's when it overlaps, right? I was wondering if you could give some examples and if things like race, sexual orientation, or gender could be considered vulnerabilities as well.
Yes, actually, in our study, in our 500 survey respondents, we found that almost higher than 20% of them are LGBT group. And we have to do another session, like studying further about this group. And we found that they were even harder than women. So, like right now we didn't get the answer or the conclusion of the study yet, because we have kind of another session of the study afterward, after we found that why so many LGBT in our groups are included our vulnerable group. We have another session, so I cannot tell you all what's the effects and what kind of recommendation that we come, but this is just some kind of information that we have. For example, the quarantine. We have hospital, right? We have hospital and hospital, and some of the quarantine. Do you think that government thinking about the differences of the various gender identity? No, they put it off. Okay, you are male, you put in a male. A female, put in female. There was no sensitive in terms of providing a special kind of services for people who are transgender, especially. And we found in our survey that many children, transgender children who were forced to stay home, has a lot of conflict, has a lot of stress, because they never show or open to their parents that they are LGBT, right? But because of they have to stay home. You have to close the door all the time. No, sometimes they have to stay in a small room together. We recommend immediately after we found this problem that they should have the hotline, special hotline for on the transgender or like LGBT group. Do you think that they are doing that? No, not yet. Not even the mental counseling hotline. Yes, it's just so generous. We have the 1300, I think it's burning because even they have like 40 people who are receiving the telephone. I don't think anyone is sensitive enough to answer to this kind of question. It's kind of, this is an example. I haven't got the conclusion from our special session on this yet. I share with you later after I have the answer.
Thank you. Continue.
Some more question,
I have a question.
please.
Yeah, from your research, do you find any interesting case that maybe female use their identity of being female or gender identity to overcome the struggle or make their life more visible or less vulnerable? Any case that you find interesting in your research?
Oh, very good question. This is something that I didn't share in my presentation. When it's about women empowerment, in times of crisis. In the focus group discussion, like the first round of the guide question, after I throw the guide question, people share, all the women in the group share, elderly and also victims of violence share the first sentence. But, they said, the COVID made me so powerful. This is the first time I can make decision on what we can use our saving. Now everybody has to come and depend on me, rely on me, especially elder mother. To say I was so proud, and this is the time that they see my dignity, my how do you call, my being a mother. They're so proud. Oh, this is something that I never thought of. They said that this is the first time I feel so proud being a mother. This is something that that can be articulated in many ways, because of they have to take care of the children. This is the first time that kids, sometimes that kids are lawyers, very strong, never talk to mother because mother has a very low education. This is the first time that the son came with his kind of upset mentality, something, and talk to mother and try to seek assistance from mother. And some of the family is so cute because they create another job together because they have to find new occupation sometime online, right? I found one of the family, she's worked as the air hostess or something. She returned home, and that was the first time she found her skill in doing khanom, the pastry, and now she can sell it and richer than air hostess occupation. So this is the opportunity for many people who just find their potential that, oh, I don't have, including my daughter as well. She was a engineering and she said, I have to retire and do another job. And then she did another job. She can gain a lot of money than this. And some of the people working in the beauty salon share with me that, he never pay attention, or she never pay attention in her small plot of land in the countryside. This is the first time she think about the organics plants, in her small plot of land. And now she can make a living and have a new jobs on her small plot of land. This is something that's a very, I don't know whether I answer your question, but this is something also open opportunity, and especially people who are tend to interested on the digital and online marketing or something like that. So many requests to us that you should teach. My organization should have a session or a training workshop on online, like now a new normal, everyone has to do everything online. And the elder people who absolutely cannot use the digital and online application, they said open and, like the application training, something like that. So this is kind of opportunity also happen as well.
Thank you.
Any more question?
What time do we have to end?
We have maybe 9 minutes.
9 minutes, okay.
Okay, maybe I add some question regarding to the intervention. I'm not sure it's still secret for you or not. So you mentioned some, like, okay, government has create many kind of the scheme, no, for people, and then some may not access, right, those scheme. So for now, is there any appropriate intervention that can help or support those women who get the impact of the COVID? So you mentioned some, right? But what you mentioned is related with, like, individual capital that they have, right? But for those who don't have those kind of things, is there any solution?
Because we have the gender analysis framework, right? The gender and responsibilities, and that was the key. The first recommendation or first thing that proposed by our clients, our participants, are child care center and schools. They must be open, especially like elementary, kindergarten, child care center, because that was the services that less reduce the burden of women, right? So that was number one, which related to gender issue. Number two, you have to go and look at why when women turn 35 years old, they cannot apply a job because of the employers has the employers are not willing to hire people with pregnancy or plan to have a baby, because they don't want to pay more on the maternity leave, as you know, on the government's on the labor law protection as social protection program. We might have to come back to our social protection program, whether you would like to you can use the social security funds, a huge fund right now, that the government spend on some other things, to kind of take some part of that to provide child care center in the workplace or in any community, so women can feel trust that community, trust that child care, and give them times to go to work, or the occupation that they can work with at home, work at home, something. This is all the project that the government can create to help even the SME, right? The SME run mainly by women, and women now go bankrupt a lot. So do you think that specific SME that run by women, do you have any kind of program that they can help? I haven't seen any kind of project like this yet. Oh, this is example, okay, that related to gender sensitive perspective. If you would like to have the gender lens in all of that government right now, the 5,000 baht. Oh, I just thinking of one scheme that most of the women so happy about. Make a guess. Which one? You will not believe it. They love the what do you call that scheme that they reduce the gas cost, free transportation, the fuel, the electricity, the water. On this kind of like a scheme are the preference of women, because this is you don't have to compete to anyone receive it in the same way, right? Very fair. And you don't have to go and try to fight for it. It's reach and arrive your home and without fighting. They love a lot, and they would like to the continuation of this kind of scheme, like the free transportation, free gas, free electricity, the all kind of thing related to their gender roles, especially. Oh, milk, milk, milk for kids, something like that.
So thank you. So maybe some quick question from student. Your last chance.
I'm excited to hear student, because
Yeah. I post
I never
question.
teach before. I'm a trainer, so most of my participants are senior. So I would like to hear young people think. You don't have to move to another country.
Yeah.
Share with us now.
No.
Mhm.
You wanna ask something? Some question?
Oh,
No, Ajahn.
okay. No.
Okay, I'm just curious about one question. So, like when we conduct the interview, sometimes we ask the question that the interviewee answer the question that something unrelated to our question, right? So in this case, can we ignore the answer, or can we how to say because the question that we asked, the answer that we got is not related to what we expect, and then
Okay.
so can we ignore it, or I don't know how to say. Sometimes
I think
can happen.
I understand your question and the feeling. Actually, we face the same question, the same problems, but if you speak to women, you might start with general thing. I think you have to be very careful not to go directly to your expected question or expected answer first. For me, I spend maybe 20 minutes talking about what's going on. In Thai we call like tam tuk suk. What kind of how do you get here? You have any problem? So the ice breaking session is very important to especially with people who are facing with burdens and problems a lot. So ice breaking, and then you ask them to be free, to express. Anyone who would like to shut up, to don't say any word, it's fine, because this is your right, your freedoms to express. And the problem is so many of them is very open, very extrovert, talk a lot, sometimes dominate on the discussion. You have to a little bit uh, commanding, to set times. Okay, any of you would start with like 3 minutes, and then second round, something like that. And if you can notice someone who really want to say, but they are so shy, and they want to open the story, which may be something very offensive, you can send a signal or send a paper to them that, okay, we talk to you later. And you have to ask them permission as well, whether anyone would like to allow to use them. And most of them are anonymous, you know, like we don't use name to open in our research. So except someone who really are leaders, you know, like some of the worker leaders who would like to advocate for their proposal as well. They really want, okay, I want to go into in-depth interview and I really want to propose my idea and opinion directly to the policy making something. So that's why we have another video. You can watch the video later of some of the leaders who really would like to express very vocal to be more vocal than the quiet one. I think in the research methodology you have to kind of learn a little bit, right, and how to do this. Actually, I'm not a researcher in my profession, you know, by profession, but this is because I'm a trainer. So I maybe you can find a co-interviewer who have another personality. If you are someone who are very introvert, you know, like you kind of a little bit how do you call quiet, you might find a co-interviewer with you. Because my interviewer on another group is very quiet too. So nobody talked to her. So they have to come and find me to help in the session because I kind of, you know, like opened. That's it. And you don't smile when they are so sad. One of the technique. You have to, you know, fine-tune your mood with them. Most of them are crying when they give interview. I couldn't believe that. I was to be another type of people sometimes. So that's a kind of respectful, you know, to them.
Yeah, thank you. We have run out of time now. Yeah, we have learned a lot from your presentation and also QA session. Yeah, I think students will get the idea about the methodology, right? How to interviewee, and then, you know, others kind of the knowledge about the women who got impact with the COVID-19. So we thank you, Kun Leung Ravi Pichai-Kun, for your contribution today. Thank you, Ka.
And thank you to all of you also, you know, like this is a very good opportunity for me. And I would like to share this kind of information, you know, like, and would like you to study more further on the thing you found interesting and important. Okay. I would like to share this research, the study, after we finish completely.
Thank you so much.
I leave my email and also some contact information at the last page of my presentation. So you can contact me if you like.
Yeah, definitely we will contact you and ask some more questions. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
For the next program, Kun Oi or Ajahn Chayan would like to say something to a next session for the day.
For the next sessions, like gonna begin at 5 p.m. like Thailand time, and 7 p.m. Japanese time. Okay, there will be like a kind of session that people do the self introductions on their personal experience on COVID-19. It can be anything that you can think about COVID-19 from your personal experience, and then going to be like a breakout room for small group discussion. I mean around 4 group where Sophia students and CMU students get together and do the discussion. That's like what we will do for that session. Okay, see you like at 5 p.m. Thailand time and 7 p.m. Japanese time. Okay, bye bye.
สวัสดีค่ะ
See you.
Bye, thank you.